Hello and welcome. I'm your host Elizibar, and if I sound a little different, it's because I've got a new headset. Uh, it's an Astro A50 like my old one, but this is my first time trying to use it to record, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to sound here. Hopefully it sounds good. We're here today to talk about, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Vetita, Vetita. Ooh, that sounded kind of good, Vetita. That sounds like the name of a villain from some 80s anime. He's like, it's his transformation, and like the heroes over there, like, oh, Vetita. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Vetita. I'm never going to say this word correctly or say it again after the intro, except maybe like all the way at the end when I say if I like the book or not. There's a song there, Vetita, Vetata. What a wonderful phrase. Anyway, No Sleep, Volume 1. So this is the first issue. It's like 60 pages long, man. There is a lot of chunky stuff in here. And the first couple pages of the book that we open up to, I don't think I can really show you those on stream. I mean, I guess I could probably get away with it. I would just have to tell YouTube, like, hey, there's dismembered bodies here on like page 1. Because it's a little gory. There's like 60 pages, man. This thing is long. We're going to jump to page 8. So we're skipping the gory stuff. So here's the main character. Check her out. She looks like a main character, right? She's got cool hair. It's like shaved on the side, which I don't really like that hairstyle, but whatever. It clearly marks her as she's probably the main character. Here's her dad, long suffering. He gets a phone call, and what happens in the phone call? He finds out that her mom's dead. Who's her mom? Well, she's one of the people in the previous couple pages that I couldn't show you who was busy dismembering people and then getting dismembered. So it's a dog bite dog world. They're not exactly eating each other, but definitely intestines all over the ground. His expression of grief down there, man, ooh, that is like super fresh in my mind. I think I was making that exact face a couple of days ago. I like their dialogue here. I really do. The dialogue previous to this is all like pompous, like bah, 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 bah. It's like typical hero versus villain, braggadocio. But here, how much do you need? Like these characters clearly have an established relationship dynamic. It's like, what do you mean? How much what? You only cook when you want something, usually money. That's ridiculous. But now that you mention it, I did have my eye. So yeah, they do have a little relationship dynamic. They know what they're doing, and then they get interrupted with this. I'm gonna click in just a couple of times here. There's a lot of gore, a lot of blood, and in some parts of the book, there's some Ghibli bits hanging out there, and I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, so we're gonna kind of box the image in just a bit. I'm gonna jump to page 12. I've got 6 page numbers written down here that I wanted to show you. So this is a little bit later. I skipped over the funeral that they have for the mother, where there's a confrontation, because I wanted to capture, the awkwardness right here. It's really well rendered awkwardness. Like you kind of feel it, like his just like drifting off. Like where do I start? So I definitely like that. Uh, the dynamic between these two characters is great. It's too bad he dies. Like that's not a spoiler here. I mean, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but like he totally gets killed in just I think I skipped a page. I think I'm going to go to 17 first. Yeah, just for this, the gun sword. Final Fantasy VIII is very happy to see the gun sword represented here. I appreciated this. You can see kind of a little hint of the violence that this book is just absolutely full of. It's good stuff. Let's go to 18. And you can see, like, the monsters. Dude looks pretty cool, doesn't he? He's big, he's buff, he's spiky. He kind of reminds me of, did you ever play Seventh Saga? The demon, or not the demon, the alien character there, I can't remember his name, but he was totally buff. Well, he wasn't this buff, but he was covered in spikes and stuff, and he was a pretty cool dude. And that's what this guy's rocking. He looks great, by the way. He looks absolutely great. My favorite looking monster character in this book, right here. So if you haven't figured out what's going on, we're kind of doing the thing where, hey, there's a character. In fact, we're just basically going like the Campbellian cycle, okay? So we have a character, they have a status quo, something disrupts the status quo, they go into the underworld, they transform, they come back out of the underworld having resolved the initial thing. This is like the Campbellian hero's journey, wrapped up in a 60-something page book. So here's where the character is getting disrupted, and they're getting ready to go into the underworld. I guess we don't really get the whole cycle. We only get like half of the cycle in this story, because we don't really come back up out of the underworld transformed. But, you know, we're getting... Okay, so we have a really awkward cut right there. I apologize for the awkwardness of the cut, but I'm not going to go back and re-record the stuff I was just saying, because I will never get it back the way I wanted it. But here we jump to this vampire nightclub, and it's pretty cool. Like, you remember that part of Blade right at the beginning, you know, the blood rave? That's what's going on here. And our heroes, there's a whole group of them. They drop in, and they're going to beat up this dude named Barlog, who's a vampire, because that's what these monsters are. That big transformy dude is this dude. Apparently in this universe, vampires become big, giant monsters. I don't know why, but it's kind of cool. I mean, also kind of jives with like some crazy stuff from Castlevania, right? And anyway, I had to cover up some Ghibli bits here. You know, there's it not really defined, but there's a topless lady here and there's a topless lady here, and I'm just like, you know what, YouTube, we're gonna play nice with you because I don't want to get in trouble with the Dark Lords of YouTube. I have enough trouble, you know, with other Dark Lords. But one thing that I will criticize the book for here, get a little constructive criticism, because I found the pacing of the dialogue to be fine. Like, it's not spectacular, but it's pretty solid. It's a lot of fun. We don't dwell anywhere too long, and the art's generally okay. I especially like the transformed monsters. Like, you can see this dude like popping horns down here. This dude's got like crazy eyes and stuff. Like, the transformed monsters look pretty cool. But every once in a while, the perspective gets a little bit off. This is a tough angle to draw, by the way. So we're up over looking down isometrically, and I'm not sure it really worked in this shot. For starters, they look like they're at a different angle than him, which suggests this might supposed to be like a fisheye type effect, where these get elongated at the edges, or not elongated, kind of scrunched at the edges, and the middle gets elongated, but his legs don't really bear that out. So something about the perspective here seems a little bit off, or maybe it's just my eyes and I'm seeing it wrong. But there's one or two other places in here where I think something is kind of wonky with the perspective. Mostly I'm giving that a pass because I had a lot of fun reading the book. There's also a couple poses in here. I'm not going to show them. They're doing the combat like when somebody gets punched or something, and the posing looks a little on the stiff side. It's not a big deal. It's certainly better than some books I've seen, so this has that going for it. But it did kind of like, you know, my eye caught it, basically, is kind of what I'm saying. I got one more page I want to jump to, and we're going to go there here in just a second. It'll be a startling jump, okay? Brace yourself. And again, here's our startling jump to page 59. This is towards the end of the book. The battle's kind of been resolved. There's like crazy stuff has happened between here and there. And we've got our main character here. She's laying down. And there's nothing wrong with that pose. I mean, the pose looks fine. But what doesn't look so fine is her face. Like, I'm not quite sure, like, what's up with this. She looks like she's been slapped. Like, her face is slurred over to the side a little bit. Like, that's clearly not what happened, because she's just slapping the hand away. So something about this went a little sideways. And this is like the one place in the book where I really noticed a face being drawn kinda oddly. Everywhere else it's drawn like fine. Although sometimes you can see like when people are pretty far in the background, the face is not really filled in that much. But it's also in the background. Your eye really shouldn't be paying too much attention to that. You know, especially given what's to the right of that picture. Like, there's clearly an eye draw on this page that you're supposed to be looking at. And if you're looking somewhere else, and it's not a text bubble, you're probably not looking where the artist intended you to look. But man, That one got me. She looks like she's like 20 years older, and the shape of her face changed compared to like every other shot of her. I don't know. That one panel really just kind of stood out to me. Otherwise, like the art's either serviceable or pretty good in this book. So I don't think that's too many complaints, is it? So those are the things that I noticed in the book. In general, I found the story to be fun, if a little cliched. I mean, I just started like busting out. Well, we're gonna follow the monomyth, right? The hero's journey, and start talking about Campbellian, blah 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 blah. But a lot of stories are written that way, so that's not necessarily a bad criticism. Some stories are way more blatant about it than others. I mean, Star Wars is kind of like right on point. Like if you've seen the first Star Wars movie, you understand the hero's journey because that's what Star Wars is. Nobody's going to say that the first Star Wars movie is terrible. You might say, well, it's okay, or it's a pulp story, or whatever. In this case, this is a kind of fun, like bad girl monster smashing book. There's lots of intrigue wrapped up in it. So she's introduced to. Let's go to a better picture of her. Let's go back to like page 8 with her dad. So we're not looking at that face anymore because that face is killing me, man. Yeah, here we go. So she is wrapped up in this new mysterious world after losing her dad. So her ties with the old world are severed. She's in the new world. And once she's there, she starts meeting people, interacting with them. She herself is changed by the experience. Then from there, she goes to meeting people who are not in the group that welcomed her into that world. She meets other people and interacts with them. And, well, there's a big fight at a nightclub, so you can guess that there's a little bit of violence involved in that. But she also meets somebody that's like, hey, the things you think are true, the things you have been told are not true. So now we're sowing those seeds of doubt about the world she lives in, about the characters she's interacting with, about who she is really into the mix. Kind of not setting up story arcs for this issue, because this is the first one, and those things happen toward the end of the book, but setting up the story for the next issue, so that we know, hey, she's probably going to be doing some crazy vampire battles or whatever in the next issue, but she's also going to learn more about the world. It's a great hook, it's a great way to lead into the next story, makes you want more, makes you want a little more. And that's what these kind of things are supposed to be about, If you're doing sequential storytelling, you got to tell people, hey, here's more. And if you're doing it really primitively, like on TV, you can be like, literally, coming in the next episode. Here you can just be like, hey, in the next issue, the next book, the next chapter, here's what's going to happen. So those are all my thoughts about this book, whose title we will scroll up to page 1 and then like zoom in on so you can see it. As opposed to me saying, oh, I'm going to say it again. Vetita. 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 Sorry, I'm cracking myself up. You all have a great day, great night, great whatever you got going on. Sure hope to see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.